Cue and Review, celebrating 40 years of audio production, welcomes you to this week's edition of the Glasgow Times Sports Podcast, recorded from our studio in the Bishopbriggs Media Centre and by our volunteers working from home. Keep up to date with Cue and Review news via our Facebook, Twitter or Instagram, at Cue and Review, that's @CueandReview, or get in touch with us directly by emailing information@cueandreview.com, that's INFORMATION @CueandReview.com, or by calling 0141 772 3976. Please like and share our podcast and give us constructive feedback.
This is from the Glasgow Times of Thursday the 27th of March 2025 from the sports section. Celtic versus Hearts. Live stream, kick-off time, but not on TV. This article is by Robbie Hanratty. After a brief pause for international fixtures, the Scottish Premiership resumes this weekend with Celtic hosting Heart of Midlothian at Parkhead. Brendan Rodgers' side suffered a defeat to rivals Rangers before the break, but remain firm favourites to secure a third consecutive league title. Hearts have had a resurgence after a slow start to the campaign, and Neil Critchley's men will be out to provide a shock when they travel across the M8. When is Celtic versus Hearts? Celtic are set to face Hearts in Scottish Premiership action on Saturday, March 29th. The match takes place at Celtic Park in Glasgow with a kick-off time of 3 p.m. Is Celtic versus Hearts on TV? For fans in the UK and Ireland, the match will not be broadcast live on television. However, supporters outside the UK and Ireland can watch the game live on Celtic TV. A live video stream will be available exclusively to subscribers outside these regions, while a video replay will be accessible from 10 p.m. for all subscribers. The last 5 Celtic results: Celtic 2, Rangers 3. Celtic 2, Hibernian 0, that's the Scottish Cup. St Mirren 2, Celtic 5. Celtic 5, Aberdeen 1. Hibernian 2, Celtic 1. And the last 5 Hearts results: Hearts 2, Ross County 0. Hearts 3, Dundee 1, and that was the Scottish Cup. Hibernian 2, Hearts 1, Hearts 3, St Mirren 1, St Johnstone 1, Hearts 2. That article was by Robbie Hanratty. This is from the Glasgow Times of Thursday the 27th of March 2025 from the sports section. Dundee versus Rangers. TV channel live stream and kick-off. This article is by David Irvin. Rangers take on Dundee in the Scottish Premiership this weekend. Barry Ferguson's side return to league action after the international break, looking to build momentum from their derby win over Celtic last time out. The Ibrox club now head to Dundee for an evening kick-off on Saturday in the weekend's televised offering from the Scottish top flight. Dundee, meanwhile, tasted derby victory of their own last time out in a 4-2 victory over Dundee United at Tannadice. When is Dundee versus Rangers in the Scottish Premiership? Dundee host Rangers in the Scottish Premiership on Saturday, March 29. The match will be played at Dens Park. Kick-off is at 5:30 p.m. Is Dundee versus Rangers on TV? Yes, the match will be broadcast live on Sky Sports. Coverage begins at 5 p.m. on Sky Sports Main Event and Sky Sports Football. Can I live stream Dundee versus Rangers? Yes, the match is available to live stream through Sky Sports or on Now TV. The last 5 Rangers results: Celtic 2, Rangers 3. Rangers 0, Fenerbahce 2. 3-3 aggregate, Rangers in on penalties. Fenerbahce 1, Rangers 3. Rangers 1, Motherwell 2. Kilmarnock 2, Rangers 4. That article was by David Irvin. This is from the Glasgow Times of Thursday the 27th of March 2025 from the sports section. Celtic reportedly set to offer Daizen Maeda a new contract. This article is by Martin Macmillan. Celtic are reportedly ready to offer Daizen Maeda a new contract. According to reports, the club is keen for the Japanese forward to commit to fresh terms to ward off transfer interest. The Scottish Sun claims Celtic plan to propose a new deal to Maeda, whose current contract extends until the summer of 2027. Celtic bosses are believed to want Maeda to commit to a longer-term contract with improved conditions. The winger, who has recently been utilised as a central striker, has netted 28 goals this season and is a strong candidate for Player of the Year. After his exceptional season so far, Brendan Rodgers previously acknowledged that he'd be surprised if there wasn't transfer interest in Maeda. However, the club is eager to retain him at Parkhead by securing an agreement on a new contract. Rodgers said of the forward, "I would think Daizen would be getting interest. If you are doing it at a Champions League level, you're showing you can do it on that stage. If you're scoring goals like he has, working as hard as he does, then of course that will always bring attention. Daizen is a great symbol for our team and the collective. He brings the highest level of intensity we want. He is deserving of everything he's getting so far, and he's developing as a football player." That article was by Martin Macmillan. This is from the Glasgow Times of Thursday the 27th of March 2025 from the sports section. Denmark manager delivers Kasper Schmeichel injury update. This article is by Josh McCafferty. Denmark national team manager Brian Riemer has provided an update on the condition of Celtic goalkeeper Kasper Schmeichel. The 38-year-old was injured while playing for his country in a 5-2 defeat to Portugal on Sunday evening. Doubts have resultantly been raised over Schmeichel's availability to turn out for his club against Heart of Midlothian in the Scottish Premiership on Saturday. He has missed just 1 game for Celtic so far this season, although that number could soon become 2, with Riemer stating that Schmeichel will undoubtedly be on the sidelines this weekend. The status is that Kasper is injured, he told Danish TV channel Sport 2. And right now we are doing the in-depth studies, which should provide an indication of whether we are talking about a shorter, medium or long injury period. I don't think there is any doubt that he will not play this weekend. He has recovered quickly from injuries before. I know he is keen on that in this case too, but he is injured and will be for the foreseeable future. Schmeichel has been a key figure for his side in 2024-25 up to this point, although it looks like young backup goalkeeper Viljami Sinisalo will be thrust into action against Hearts. The 23-year-old has made just 1 Celtic appearance since joining the club last summer, which came in the Scottish Cup against Raith Rovers at the beginning of February. A league debut now appears imminent for the Finn as Brendan Rodgers' men look to hone in on their fourth consecutive Premiership title. That article was by Josh McCafferty. This is from the Glasgow Times of Thursday, the 27th of March 2025, from the sports section. McGinn's role in Sinisalo's first Scottish move revealed. This article is by Josh McCafferty. A text from John McGinn helped secure Viljami Sinisalo's move to Ayr United back in 2020. The Celtic goalkeeper, who is reportedly set to make his league debut this weekend against Heart of Midlothian, joined the Somerset Park side on loan from Aston Villa as a teenager. Sinisalo made 29 appearances for Ayr before subsequent temporary spells away from Villa at Burton Albion and Exeter City. Mark Kerr initially brought the stopper to United and revealed how a message from Scotland star McGinn convinced him to secure Sinisalo's services. He said, "The deal came about through Willow Flood. He knew one of the scouts down there, and then when his name came up, I texted John McGinn. John said he was training with the Villa first team every day, and he was a cracking boy with a lot of ability. He said he would do a decent job. Viljami was still only 18 years old at the time, so we brought him up to train and to have a look, only because he was so young. He really made an impression. He was a big lad, but agile, and you could tell he would be different class." To be fair, it was a difficult period during the COVID season. It was so bad for everyone. We'd lost lots of players, and the ones coming in were stuck in the house. It was tough for him, but he was a great lad who chucked himself right into it. He did really well for us. There was the odd wee mistake, the kind you expect from young players. But the great thing was that he didn't let it affect him, and he would learn from them. He did so well he ended up getting called up for Finland while he was with us. The now 23-year-old has just made just one Celtic appearance to date, which came in a 5-0 Scottish Cup victory over Raith Rovers at the beginning of last month. It looks as though he will now be thrust into Premiership action this weekend, with uncertainty reigning over Kasper Schmeichel's fitness after he picked up an injury with Denmark. That article was by Josh McCafferty. This is from the Glasgow Times of Thursday, the 27th of March 2025, from the sports section. O'Reilly attracting interest, Brighton exit on the cards. This article is by Josh McCafferty. Former Celtic midfielder Matt O'Reilly could reportedly be on the move just 1 year after leaving the club. The Dane joined Brighton and Hove Albion last summer in a £25 million move, although so far things haven't gone to plan for him on the south coast. O'Reilly has struggled with injuries ever since being stretchered off on his Brighton debut against Crawley Town. Now, after a nightmare first few months at the Amex, he is attracting the attention of several clubs in Italy, claims Talk Sport. Capital side AS Roma are said to be one of the teams interested in a move for the 24-year-old, who has made just 14 appearances across all competitions for his new club this campaign. O'Reilly knows he needs regular minutes to fulfill his dream of playing at next year's World Cup in North America, and the best way to get such game time may be by leaving Brighton after only a year. The attack-minded midfielder was a standout in green and white last season and was named Celtic's in-house Player of the Year and Players' Player of the Year. He hasn't been significantly missed this season, however, with Brendan Rodgers' men comfortably ahead of the rest in the Scottish Premiership and well on their way to securing a domestic treble. That article was by Josh McCafferty. This is from the Glasgow Times of Thursday, the 27th of March 2025, from the sports section. SFA in Euro 2028 announcement involving Aston Villa star. This article is by Josh McCafferty. The Scottish FA has helped launch a new company responsible for the hosting of UEFA Euro 2028. UK and Ireland 2028 Limited has been established and recently commenced operations. English FA Chair Debbie Hewitt, MBE, is joined on the company's board by 3 independent non-executive directors, Susan Ahern, SC, Alan Stewart, and most notably Aston Villa star and England international Tyrone Mings. Chris Bryant, MBE, has been appointed as Managing Director. The creation of the delivery company represents a significant milestone in the planning phase of UEFA Euro 2028, UK and Ireland, said Scottish FA CEO Ian Maxwell. It will enable us to bring together a vastly experienced group representing all host nations to create an unforgettable tournament experience for all. We want to deliver a festival of football that brings together the unique strands of the respective host nations, a global spectacle that Scotland will be proud to play a part of, ideally both on and off the pitch. Scotland and England both helped host the delayed 2020 European Championships, with matches being held at both Hampden Park and Wembley Stadium. The same 2 grounds will once more be utilised in 2028, along with several other venues across the UK and Ireland. That article was by Josh McCafferty. This is from the Glasgow Times of Thursday, the 27th of March 2025, from the sports section. Victor Wanyama breaks silence after Dunfermline move. This article is by Josh McCafferty. Former Celtic midfielder Victor Wanyama yesterday completed a shock return to Scottish football, joining Dunfermline Athletic on a deal until the end of the season. Wanyama boasts an impressive CV, having previously been a roaring success at Parkhead before spells in the English Premier League with Southampton and Tottenham Hotspur. He most recently plied his trade in the MLS with CF Montreal and is now reunited with his old Celtic boss Neil Lennon at East End Park. The signing was confirmed yesterday, with Wanyama taking to social media earlier this morning in reaction to his move. On X, he simply wrote, "New home, same hunger." Dunfermline currently sit second bottom in the Scottish Championship, 2 points off safety, with a game in hand. Lennon's first game at the helm in this coming Saturday, as he takes his team to Somerset Park to face a man who captained his Celtic side, Scott Brown. The 53-year-old will be looking to get off to a flying start with the Pars as he returns to the dugout after a brief spell in Romania with FC Rapid last year. That article was by Josh McCafferty. This is from the Glasgow Times of Friday the 28th of March 2025, from the sports section. Bernardo eager to return to action for Celtic after injury. This article is by Martin Macmillan. Celtic midfielder Paolo Bernardo is eager to get back in action for the season finale after recovering from an ankle injury. The Portugal under-21 international is in contention to feature in Saturday's William Hill Premiership encounter against Hearts at Celtic Park. The 23-year-old suffered his injury during a Scottish Cup win over Raith Rovers on February 8th. "I can play football again, so I'm really excited for the coming weeks," Bernardo said. "The injury was bad, but I recovered very well, and hopefully I can play from now on. It's been a while for me being off the pitch, so probably not 90 minutes, but I will do the best as I can if the coach wants me to play. I had the opportunity to recover well and to work on other things that I couldn't do during the season. It was a good time to recover and to do other things too." Bernardo missed the Champions League encounters with Bayern Munich, as well as the recent defeat by Rangers, but he has a semi-final against St Johnstone to look forward to next month, while Celtic are 13 points clear in the league with 8 matches left. "We as a team still have some goals to achieve, and we will try our best to do that as soon as possible," Bernardo said. "For me personally, I want to have good games before the end of the season and to do my best every game. Each opportunity that I have, I will try to give it all on the pitch." That article was by Martin Macmillan from the Glasgow Times of Friday the 28th of March 2025 from the sports section. Celtic keeper Kasper Schmeichel urged to quit national team. This article was by Martin Macmillan. Nicholas Bentner has called for Celtic's Kasper Schmeichel to be dropped from the Danish national team. The former Arsenal player believes the veteran goalkeeper is finished at the international level. Schmeichel has faced criticism after Denmark's 5-2 Nations League loss to Portugal on Sunday, where they surrendered a 1-0 first leg lead. The 38-year-old sustained a shoulder injury during the match and potentially sidelining him for an extended period. Bentner, who earned 81 caps for Denmark, thinks it's time for a change between the sticks. He said, "My question mark for the Danish team is around the goalkeeper. Kasper is 38 now. I like him a lot, but he cost us a lot of goals in Portugal. He has grown bigger. I admire the man a great deal. But when he is 38 in such an important position, and you have 2 Premier League keepers behind you, it's time for the coach, Brian Riemer, to change it. I would expect Mads Hermansen to play in our friendlies in June to see how he copes with it. And once Leicester get relegated, I'd imagine half of the Premier League will try to sign him." That article was by Martin Macmillan. This is from the Glasgow Times of Friday the 28th of March 2025 from the sports section. Celtic transfer windfall consequence as Liverpool eye Frimpong. This article is by David Irvin. Liverpool have reportedly held initial talks over a transfer swoop for Jeremy Frimpong. It's claimed Anfield Chiefs are interested in signing the former Celtic fullback from Bayer Leverkusen this summer. Sources have told the PA news agency that talks are at an early stage. Frimpong could be signed by Liverpool to replace Trent Alexander-Arnold, who has been linked with Real Madrid. It's claimed Manchester City, Manchester United and Chelsea are also interested in Frimpong, who has a reported release clause of £34 million. Any transfer deal will have a significant impact on Celtic, with the club holding a sell-on clause as part of the sale of Frimpong to the Bundesliga club in 2021. Should Frimpong be sold for £34 million, then the total profit made by the German side would come to around £22.2 million. This would result in Celtic raking in £6.7 million. Leverkusen chief executive Fernando Caro previously admitted the club will likely sell one key player in the summer. He said, "Every year we need to sell one big player to find budget for new signings. So, probably we will sell one player. We're planning to sign 2 or 3 players with that amount of money." Transfer specialist Fabrizio Romano previously hinted at a move for Frimpong this summer. He posted, "Jeremy Frimpong remains one to watch in the summer. Dutch right-back could leave Leverkusen in the summer with many clubs interested. The clause in his contract is worth a fee of around 40 million euros. That article was by David Irvin. This is from the Glasgow Times of Friday the 28th of March 2025 from the sports section. Ferguson on fallout from Cherney Parkhead water incident. This article is by Martin Macmillan. Interim Rangers head coach Barry Ferguson has no issues with his players getting overexcited after Václav Černý sprayed Celtic supporters with water at Parkhead. The Czech winger, who has been a standout for his team of late, sprinted down the touchline following Hamza Igamani's late derby winner, squirting water from his bottle at sections of the home crowd as he went. Černý has since been the subject of a police probe following the incident. Although Ferguson had no issues with his players' actions, the reaction was that he was excited because his teammates just scored the winning goal, said his caretaker boss. "I would have a problem if my players and staff sat on a seat and never did anything. I want to see players and staff celebrate. Why do we play football? We play football to win games. And when you win games, I want to see my players and my staff celebrate alongside our supporters. Sometimes you get a wee bit overexcited. I have no issues with that. As I said, Vac was just overexcited with his teammate Hamza scoring a goal to get us 3 points at a place where we'd not done that for 5 years. I've had a private chat with Vac, and that will remain private. One thing I've made clear to my players and my staff is when we score, we celebrate. And after the game, whether it's Celtic, whether it's Fenerbahce, whether it's St Mirren, whether it's whoever it is, Dundee, Aberdeen, Hibs, Hearts, if that whistle goes and we've won 3 points, I have no issue with going and celebrating with your fans. These guys pay a fortune to travel everywhere and come and support us. And I want to see a bit of passion, not just for the stands, but for my players." Černý washed away any fallout over the incident by scoring for his country in a 4-0 hammering of Gibraltar over the international break. He is now back in Glasgow, ahead of his side's clash with Dundee on Saturday. Ahead of the match, Ferguson outlined his feelings on Černy's long-term future. "I have asked him to do things that may not previously have been a part of his game," he said. "He is a difference maker, and his work without the ball has been excellent. I would love to see him stay at the club." That article was by Martin Macmillan. This is from the Glasgow Times of Friday the 28th of March 2025 from the sports section. Who would you keep as Motherwell contracts and loans end? This article is by Graham McGarry. The international break doesn't half make your mind wander. As much as I love Scotland games, the long fallow days in between, without the daily Premiership argy-bargy, can have you pining for the tiniest of Fir Park titbits. When not scouring Motherwell's social media feed, though, in the vain hope of a video showing Ross Callaghan giving Callum Slattery a taper fade, I've satisfied my claret and amber cravings this week by mulling over the dilemma Michael Wimmer will have this summer. This week, the new Motherwell manager acknowledged the many players who are either out of contract or whose loans in Lanarkshire will be coming to an end at the end of this season, and stated his intention to find out who wanted to come on the journey with him as he attempted to take the team in a new direction. The question on my mind, though, as I'm sure it is on Wimmer's, centres more around who might be capable of playing the sort of high-energy, high-pressing game that he has stated he wants his Motherwell sides to play. There are 15 players contracted to the team for next season, counting Lennon Miller. So the likelihood is that 14 of them will report for pre-season training. Listing all of the players who are free to leave Fir Park in a couple of months might take me close to my word count, but that's only part of the reason why I'm going to do it. While the departure of some will hardly be cause for mourning, no matter how good a barber they may be, it is worth highlighting just how many of them play an integral role in the team at this current point. So, with a deep breath, those scheduled to be departing are Ellery Balcom, Callum Ward, Archie Mayer, Dan Casey, Shane Blaney, Dominic Thompson, Steve Seddon, Marvin Kaleta, Paul McGinn, Davor Zradovsky, Andy Halliday, Harry Payton, Kai Andrews, Ross Callahan, Jair Tavares, Luke Plounge, Jack Vale, Moses Ibayi, Tony Watt, Luke Armstrong and Will Dixon. Which begs some questions, the first of which being just where are all these guys sitting in the changing room? More importantly, though, which of those players would you like to see back in the squad next season? Of course, some of those decisions may be taken out of Wimmer's hands. Getting Andrews back would be something of a coup, but having been named in the Wales squad for their recent World Cup qualifiers by Craig Bellamy, the next stage of his development may be higher up the food chain. Balcom has been impressive lately, and if he is happy to come back and compete against Aston Oxborough for the gloves, then that would give Motherwell a very strong goalkeeping department. While I think most fans would be desperate to see Casey extend his stay at Fir Park once more, the links to Hearts just won't go away. And as we saw with Blair Spittle this time last year, Tynecastle pockets are deep and difficult for any player outside the old firm to resist. Seddon has been impressive in the fleeting appearances he has made and seems a good character to have around the place, with Thompson doing well on the left and Ewan Wilson there as backup in the wing-back role. He would be worth keeping around as an option to play on the left of the back three. Club captain McGinn is, of course, a leader and has been a very good player for Motherwell over his time at the club. But at 34, and having made just 12 appearances in an injury-hit campaign, his situation is a bit of a toss-up. On balance, I would keep him too for his experience in a job-sharing role with Stephen O'Donnell on the right of the defence. A couple of months back, I might not have felt Halliday had the legs to play for another season in the Premiership, but since the arrival of Wimmer, he has flourished in the midfield. He is another I would be looking to put a 12-month extension in front of. Plange hasn't done much of note so far, while Dixon has hardly been seen. But it may also be worth exploring the possibility of landing Armstrong on a permanent deal from Carlisle, if only to see if he can continue his evolution into the new Dougie Arnott as the hammer of the old firm. As for the rest, You could perhaps make a case for Harry Payton or Tony Watt as squad players, but that's about it, which would leave a squad of about 21 or 22 bodies. Wimmer said he hoped to only have to sign perhaps another 2 players in the summer, but maybe 3, 4, or even more to allow him to shape the side more in his image will be required. And hopefully he will have a good slice of the Miller millions to do just that. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm away to get my fix by checking out the price of a pair of personalised grip socks from Tony Watt. Roll on Pitodry. Article was by Graham McGarry.
Evening Times Sport. Susan Egglestaff on Alex Arthur Jr. making his pro debut. The majority of people's most formative memories are of their early school days, learning to ride a bike, or some other run-of-the-mill childhood experience. Alex Arthur Jr.'s could not be more different. His earliest memory is of stepping into the boxing ring to celebrate his dad winning the WBO Super Featherweight World title in 2007. It is perhaps no surprise that's the moment that stuck in Arthur's mind. I was just a 5-year-old kid, says Arthur, of that night. My dad was fighting Koba Gogoladze in Cardiff for the world title. And after that, he won it. I went into the ring with him. I can still remember that night now. It was pretty amazing. As a child, despite his dad's success, Arthur had zero interest in boxing. Indeed, growing up, it was his younger brother, Macklin, who developed an obsession with the sport and was touted as the Arthur who would follow in his father's footsteps. Not a soul, Arthur Sr. included, thought Arthur Jr. had any inclination to don boxing gloves and step into the ring. This seeming absence of a fighter's mindset was apparent in another of Arthur's early memories, and was one of the many reasons it was presumed that boxing would never be the career path he would embark upon. The 23-year-old from Edinburgh recalls, I remember being at home one day and my dad took my 2 younger brothers and me, plus a pair of boxing gloves, out into the garden. I was the oldest, so I had to go first. I put the gloves on, stood there, and my dad punched me. I didn't punch him back, I just ran away crying. Then he put the gloves on my middle brother, Liston. He punched Liston and Liston ran away crying. Then he put the gloves on Macklin, punched him, and Macklin was only one of us who punched him back. Back then, I didn't have the courage to hit back. Growing up, football was Arthur's sport, and it was a fleeting comment from his football coach at Spartans FC that would end up changing Arthur's life. Says Arthur, my football coach said I needed to lose a bit of weight if I wanted to keep playing at the level I was. My dad suggested I come down to the boxing gym to do a bit of training. There was no suggestion of competing or anything. It was just to get fit. No one, especially not Arthur himself, expected his sessions in the boxing gym to lead to anything other than the loss of a few kilos. Quickly, though, it became apparent that he had an undiscovered talent. Says Arthur, after about 2 or 3 weeks of being in the gym, I started sparring with the guys there. They were good fighters, and I realised I was way better at boxing than I was at football. I'd only been doing it for about 3 weeks, and I remember my dad saying to me that I could be so good, and I thought, yeah, he's right. I went back to football training and told the coach I wasn't coming back. Arthur's first competitive fight was at the Scottish National Championships, and even after a narrow first-round defeat, he had caught the bug. A successful amateur career began to unfold with Arthur winning the 2024 Scottish title. He began, though, to feel stale in the amateur ranks, and so, despite having had less than 36 fights, decided to take the leap into the professional ranks. Arthur acknowledges he is something of a novice compared to his peers, although the advantage of this is his body has taken a fraction of the beating many other young pros have. But this has done little to dent his confidence ahead of his professional debut, which is now just 8 weeks away. On May the 24th, on the undercard of the Josh Taylor Ikau Essuman fight at Glasgow's Hydro, Arthur will make his professional debut. It will be quite a moment for both Arthur and his father, who will be in his corner. Arthur Sr. has coached his son from day one and has guided him, almost flawlessly, to this point in his career. Being coached by one's parent doesn't always make for the easiest partnership, but the pair appear to be navigating this potentially rocky road astonishingly smoothly. As anyone who knows Arthur Sr. can attest, the former Commonwealth Games gold medalist and WBO world champion is quite the character, making for, Arthur Jr. admits, an unpredictable life. The positives of the relationship, though, are numerous, with Arthur Sr. never having forced the sport that made his name upon any of his children, and particularly not his eldest. He says, "My dad's really not pushy. It was me who came to the realization that this is what I wanted to do. Being coached by my dad is quite something, though. It's eventful, that's for sure. I turn up to training not knowing what to expect. Sometimes he's absolutely delightful, and then sometimes he's there in the gym like Rocky Balboa's coach Mickey Goldmill, so that keeps me on my toes. My dad was the first person I ever sparred with, and he decked me in that first sparring session. He was saying, 'Are you sure you want to keep doing this?' But I got back up and we continued sparring, and I think that's when he thought, okay, maybe he is ballsy." We have a good separation between the father-son relationship and the coaching relationship. When we are in the gym together and talking about boxing, it's very much coach and athlete, and I listen to everything he says. I would never talk back to him in the gym. I take in everything he says, because I know for certain he's always got my best interests at heart. Whatever he tells me to do, I know there's a reason behind it. Given Arthur grew up as his father was nearing retirement, Arthur Sr. fought for the final time in 2012. He was exposed to the downsides of life as a boxer. His memories of the final years of his father's career have ensured he's in little doubt as to what he's letting himself in for as a fighter. But even this has failed to deter him from taking this path. And he says, "I have memories of the last few fights of my dad's career. There's a few bad experiences I can remember with him making weight. Sometimes he'd send my mum, me and my brothers away on holiday for his last few weeks of training camps before a fight, because he was struggling so much to make weight, and it was best for us not to be there to see it. But the vast memories of my days of that is the fighting positive." Arthur's immediate focus is on making a winning start to his professional career in May, but already he has aspirations of following in his father's footsteps by contending for the various high boxing honours. And he says, "If all goes to plan in this first fight and there's no injuries, I'd like to be back out fighting again around July, because I want to keep the ball rolling. In my first few years as a pro, I've got a wee bit of making up to do, having not had so many amateur fights. So it will be good for me to fight regularly and experience different styles. Ultimately, the dream is to be fighting for world titles. The more involved I get in this sport, the more that's what I want to do. What's so great about having my dad in my corner and as my coach is the blueprints there of how to get to the very top. When I started boxing, I didn't think I was ever going to win a senior Scottish title, never mind anything else, but look where I am already. So who's to say I can't make it as a pro? Report by Susan Egglestaff. Evening Times Sport. Bruce Mowat says, "We have created a wave of success." Report by Susan Egglestaff. Bruce Mowat is far from a fame-hungry athlete as you could ever find, but even he admits the taste of celebrity he's going to experience over the next few weeks will be a nice change from the relative anonymity he enjoys most of the time in his home country. The 30-year-old and his compatriots in Team Mowat have arrived in the home of curling, Canada, as a red-hot favourite for the world title. With the Men's Curling World Championships now on in the brilliantly named Moose Jaw, Team Mowat head into their campaign as the clear world number ones, with their lead over the second-ranked side greater than that which separates the rest of the top 10. Given their status as the current superstars of the sport, it is hardly surprising that the curling hotbed of Canada embraces them in the way footballers are embraced in this country. Such celebrity is perhaps not something Mowat would relish in his day-to-day life, but he admits this small window into it is a nice change from the norm. The sport is huge in Canada, and the fans love it, so for a few weeks we do get to be celebrities. The Stirling man laughs. We do sometimes get recognised just walking down the street in Canada, which obviously never happens in Scotland. Recently at a competition here, Hammy McMillan walked into a cafe and people started applauding when they realised it was him. He was totally unsure of what to do, so it's nice to see that side of things. But as soon as we're back home, we're very much back to being normal. Team Mowat's significant lead in the world rankings comes courtesy of a stunning run of form this season. The Scots have claimed an impressive 5 tournament wins on the men's circuit, including 3 of the highly prized Grand Slam of curling events. And so Mowat and his team of Grant Hardy, Bobby Lammy, Hammy McMillan, plus alternate Kyle Waddle, are well deserving of their favourites tag over the next week. Overconfidence is not something Mowat is contemplating though, and he says, "It is a bit of a pinch me moment when we realise what we've done this season, and it means we're in a really good spot heading into this World Championships. Our confidence has continued to grow in recent months, and it's created a wave of success for us that we've been riding. I suppose we do have a bit of an aura at the moment, and what's been beneficial for us is that we've maybe got into other teams' heads. There's a lot of strong teams that are going to be hard to beat over this week, though, so we've never approached this event thinking that we're going to just turn up and win it. But if we play well, hopefully, that will mean we get the medal we want, which is gold." Mowat and his compatriots may be currently enjoying a fine run of form, but the stinging disappointment of last season remains fresh in the skip's memory. Having won the world title in 2023, Team Mowat departed last year's World Championships empty-handed, having lost the bronze medal playoff. And while fourth place would be a satisfactory result for many, Moat was gutted at missing out on silverware, and the devastation he felt has subsequently been a major driving force. He says, "It was a very disappointing finishing fourth at the last World Championships, especially because it was essentially me who played a few bad shots that caused the issues. I took that pretty hard, and I was pretty tough on myself. I held my hands up and admitted it was my responsibility and that I should have been better. But I've used it to my advantage because I never want to feel again like I've let the team down. I've worked really hard with sports psychologists, nutritionists, and in a lot of other areas, and I'm starting to see the benefits. So we've put in the effort since the last Worlds, and now we just need to hope it's enough." The next month could be one of the biggest of Moat's career. A strong showing this week would have the additional bonus of securing Olympic qualification for Great Britain for next year's Winter Olympics, while towards the end of April, Moat will team up with Jen Dodds at the World Mixed Doubles Championships, which are also in Canada, as the pair attempt to reclaim the title they won in 2021. While playing two events makes a hectic schedule for Moat, he wouldn't have it any other way, and he says, "It's exciting getting to play mixed doubles again, and I love playing with Jen. There is, of course, pressure, because it's a World Championships, and it means I have a busy schedule. But I don't find it tiring playing both men's and mixed. I would hate to have to sit and watch the mixed doubles on television, so I'd much rather be playing. I just love being out on the ice, with the competitive juices flowing, so it's going to be an exciting few weeks." Report by Susan Egglestaff. Evening Times Sport, March 31. Dessers proud of Rangers' record. Report by Ronnie Esplin. Cyril Dessers was proud to take his place among some of Rangers' 21st century greats with his dramatic late winner in the 4-3 victory over Dundee on Saturday. The 30-year-old Nigerian striker has been regularly criticised for his profligacy since joining from Cremonese in July 2023, and was guilty of more missed chances on Tayside, as goals from striker Simon Murray and skipper Joe Shaughnessy had the home side cruising at 2-0. Shaughnessy scored an own goal just before the break, but Scott Tiffany made it 3-1 in the 62nd minute, before goals from Rangers skipper James Tavernier and substitute Tom Lawrence levelled the match. Dessers then pounced in the 3rd minute of added time for his 23rd goal of the season and 45th in 100 games for the Ibrox club, which ranks behind only Chris Boyd at 68, Alfredo Morelos 57 and Shota Arveladze 48 for goals in their first 100 Rangers appearances this century. Dessers said, "When you say it like that, that makes me very proud. I had difficult times at this club, especially when I came in. But when you're amongst these names, I think you're doing something right. I know the people in the building see how hard I work in the gym, on the pitch, in training, and this is the reward. So when you tell me this, that's a very nice thing to hear from you. These are big names in the history of this club. I know it has been 2 hard years for everybody with a lot of ups and downs. We have had some unbelievable moments in Europe and winning a League Cup, but we didn't get the big prize last season, which we all fight for, so got some stick. I think that's normal when you don't win the league at Rangers, but on a personal level, to hear that record fills me with pride. Obviously I want more. I think the fans want more. The gaffer wants more. So I'm working hard for that every day. We have still got some important games left this season, so hopefully I can add a few more. It was the 5th time in 7 games Rangers had gone 2-0 down, and De Serzen says that needs to change for next season. Under interim boss Barry Ferguson, Rangers are 13 points behind William Hill Premiership leaders Celtic, with 7 games remaining, and the title is set to remain at Parkhead. However, Ger's forward said, "The ability to stay in the game and come back, we're very good at that, but it would be nice to give the first punch to them and then have a little bit more comfortable of a game. But like on Saturday, you have to dig deep, keep going, keep believing until the last minute. But that's something you need to learn if you want to compete at the highest level. You cannot have the games like this every week because it will cost you at the end of the season. You need to have more comfortable games, and that's a big step for us to make towards next season." Report by Ronnie Esplin. Evening Times Sport, March 31. How Scotland's only Camgee team is aiming to grow the sport. Report by Mark McDougall. In the East End of Glasgow, there is a club setting up training drills for a sport that nobody else in Scotland plays. The training is taking place on rented out school grounds, and at the weekend they will be getting in their cars or onto a bus to head off and play a match hours away from where they are from. For people passing by, they might mistake it as shinty training if they saw it, but Camgee is a very different sport, and Keen Craig are looking for it to expand in Scotland. It is the women's version of hurling, another Irish GAA sport, and if you take 5 minutes to search YouTube for it, you will see just what it means to people. Hurling is regarded as the fastest field sport in the world, with the ball they use, known as a sleotar, capable of reaching speeds of 180 kilometers per hour, and Camgee is not much different in how fast it moves. Keen Craig is a hurling and Camgee club formed in 2019, aimed at providing Scotland's Irish community with the opportunity of playing the sport. Last year, the Camgee team reached the All-Ireland Junior B final. It was just their second year playing. They were unfortunately beaten by Tyrone, but it was an achievement to get there. The squad who got there were largely made up of expats from around Ireland, but there's also a few Scottish shinty players from the Highlands and Islands who have joined the team after moving to Glasgow, given the similarities between the sports. Sarah O'Sullivan is the goalkeeper and admits she is still in a bit of disbelief at how a team set up for the social aspect of connecting with fellow Irishmen and women who have moved away from home almost became champions of the sport in their home country. She said, "We always joke that there should be a Netflix documentary made about it, because in 2023 we lost every single game in the Camgee, and then 2024 you reach an All-Ireland Junior B Camgee final. It was honestly very amazing to be part of the team and the girls, but just actually believing it was something we still, I'd say even now, struggle to comprehend." A Cork native, she played Camgee growing up, but there were no teams for her to join when she first moved to Scotland. When she did eventually find one, explaining the sport to her girlfriend was just one of the challenges. The biggest difficulty now is the fact most teams in the UK are based in England, with the majority in London. It means long road trips for games to places such as Liverpool, Manchester and Birmingham, as well as further south. There is a growing youth system with young kids who may have Irish parents or grandparents joining up. The club just want to grow the sport in Glasgow, and they're keen for anyone to come along if they want to try it out. And she continued, I started playing with the team and fell in love with the sport again. It sounds ridiculous and corny to say, but this is home from home. There's a bit of banter and laughter you can have with the CamG players and the hurlers at the club. You just really wouldn't get anywhere else. It's just not to say that we're not welcoming of anyone else. If you saw the sport on the All-Ireland final and decided it was cool and you'd like to try, both teams are extremely welcoming. In regards to the Irish community in Scotland, we have definitely given a family that I didn't expect to find on the West Coast. Winning obviously makes that a lot more enjoyable. After the first few losses in 2023, I was a bit like, oh God, why did I do this to myself? But it is a brilliant club and everyone's lovely. We have been very fortunate that despite being such a new club, we are doing well. We just want to kick on from here. Obviously, we're very proud that we're a Scottish team. Our big thing is that we would love to see clubs come to fruition in Edinburgh, Dundee, Aberdeen, Stirling, where you've got big universities who've got very good Gaelic football teams. A lot of the girls that play on the team would have come over to Scotland for university and then stayed to work here. It is universities that have played Gaelic football, but not necessarily CamG. A lot of the girls who would have played at home, CamG and hurling is not historically as strong in other countries as it would be in comparison to Cork or Tipperary. But a lot of our girls come from the north of Ireland too, where the game is growing. I think if we want to see the club scene develop in Scotland, we probably need to start thinking about the university scene developing. That obviously just takes time and money, and people get involved. Report by Mark McDougall. Evening Times Sport, March 31. Reasons why Billy Gilmour does not come off at Napoli games. Report by Ewan Payton. Billy Gilmour endured a slow start to life in his new surroundings in Italy last year. However, over the past 5 weeks, the midfielder has grown into a pivotal part of Napoli's side. The Scotland international has been given the nod to start Napoli's last 4 matches as they defeated Fiorentina and AC Milan and drew with Inter and Venice. He assisted Romelu Lukaku's winner against Milan last night. Of his 20 appearances for the Naples club, just 11 have been from the start. Things are looking up for the 23-year-old now as he settles into Napoli's midfield alongside his international teammate Scott McTominay. They trail Inter by 3 points at the summit of the Serie A league standings. With 8 matches remaining, the Italian media have explained Gilmour's importance to Conte's side, rating 6.5 for Corriere dello Sport. There are several reasons why Conte no longer takes him off, said that report. One of these is the assist for Lukaku, an inexhaustible factory of plots. He stretches the team with his pace. La Gazzetta dello Sport also rated him at 6.5, saying, "How much two men help in construction. He serves Lukaku's goal, distributes, but sometimes risks too much, favouring the Rossoneri counter-attacks." He earned a 7 for Tutto Napoli, as their description read, "Clear and perfect in the timing of the ball. That makes Lukaku happy. He puts intelligence in every play he makes, with dynamism and a sense of position." Report by Ewan Payton. Evening Times Sport. Luke McCowan will be greeting if Celtic win title. Report by Josh McCafferty. Celtic midfielder Luke McCowan says he'll likely be in tears if his team win the Scottish Premiership over the coming weeks. Brendan Rodgers' men remain in pole position to secure their fourth consecutive league title. For McCowan, who was playing second-tier football as little as 2 years ago, having a Premiership winner's medal round his neck come May would mean everything. "I'll probably be greeting, if I'm honest," he told Celtic TV. "It's a bit mad and silly to say, but I would never have thought it was happening. Obviously in football, you do not get a chance to reflect, but I'm sure if that day comes along, when it does, it's going to be a special moment for myself and my fiancée as well, who's been with me from the very start. I'm sure the two of us will have our tissues ready on the pitch." Celtic possess a healthy lead at the top of the table. The Parkhead side are wins away from securing the title, but silverware is not even on the players' minds as of yet, according to McCowan. He said, "If you come to the end of the season and you've got 3 trophies hopefully in the bag, you think of that. Our mindset is not even to look at them yet. It's about getting the league over the line first, then it comes after that. I'm sure the boys will push as hard as they can to get the league done as quickly as they can." Report by Josh McCafferty. Evening Times Sport, March 31. Rangers' January approach for prolific striker revealed. Report by Josh McCafferty. Rangers reportedly had a January approach for prolific Israeli striker Dor Turgeman knocked back. The 21-year-old has scored 16 goals and assisted 6 in 37 appearances for Maccabi Tel Aviv this season. The Ibrox side are said to be one of several clubs who approached Tel Aviv over a mid-season move, claims Sport 5. Turgeman stayed put in January, but could be on the move this summer. Indeed, it is said that Tel Aviv are said to be preparing for an expected departure for a price that could exceed €5 million. It remains to be seen who will be in charge at Rangers come the off-season. Barry Ferguson will remain as interim head coach until the campaign's end, although the long-term Philippe Clement replacement remains to be seen. Ferguson has carried out a commendable job so far, leading Rangers to the last 8 of the Europa League and securing a memorable 3-2 victory over Celtic at Parkhead. His team came from behind to beat Dundee on Saturday, although the 47-year-old wasn't pleased post-match and said, "Overall, I saw so many old habits creeping in. I just had a word with the players about it. I'm not going to allow that to happen. So it's something that we really need to work on. We've got a full week now, and that's something that I and my staff and the players will sit down and we'll go through. We'll go out on the grass, because at stages in the game I was a bit baffled at times. But one thing I will say about them is that they showed character again. I keep using this word all the time, but this has been labelled against them. Report by Josh McCafferty. Evening Times Sport, March 31. Rangers chief keen to continue progress of women's team, reports Alison McConnell. Joe Potter has revealed that Patrick Stewart, who was in attendance at Ibrox for yesterday's 4-0 win over Hearts, is keen to ensure the continued progression of the women's team. Former England international Potter led Rangers to the first silverware of the season last weekend, with the Sky Sports Cup, with her side now firmly on course for a potential domestic treble. They remain 2 points off league leaders Hibs after yesterday's results, but the bigger picture for Potter is that there is clear support from the hierarchy of the club when it comes to the long-term development of the women's team. Potter said, "I had a really good conversation with Patrick Stewart, the right conversation. He was there last week and he was here again this week. There are good people here at this club. I said it last week with Barry Ferguson too. These are people with really good intentions, and it feels like a really good place to be at the moment. I think it shows in how we are all coming together. We are looking at the future, at how it looks and how much more we can do to help. If that means playing here at Ibrox more often, then that is maybe what it can be. You can see what a spectacle it can be, and we just want to see that more often." Rangers were comfortable from first minute to last against Hearts, with a brace apiece from Brogan Hay and Rio Hardy. There was a belief and conviction about Rangers, just as there was last week in the final against Hibs, with Potter accepting that her side look as though they are hitting their stride at the optimum point of the season. However, she has maintained that the displays across recent weeks need to be sustained for the remaining 8 SWPL games, and she added, "We are not champions right now. We are not even holding champions. We have won the Sky Sports Cup. We are in these competitions and we have ambitions and aims, but we have got to produce these kind of performances week in, week out. You take your foot off ever so slightly, and good teams around you will punish you." Grant Scott's side put last weekend's cup final defeat behind them as they beat Motherwell 3-0. Rosie Livingston netted at the end of the opening period before Michaela McAloney and Kirsty Morrison added to the scoreline. It retains Hibs' 2-point cushion at the top of the table going into this week's international break. Reigning champions Celtic are 9 points off the top following their defeat to Glasgow City on Friday night. There are just 3 points between the top three, although Hoops boss Elina Sadiku has warned that there are more twists and turns to come. Celtic have lost 3 successive league games to Hibs, Hearts and City, but the Swede remained defiant and said, "There are 8 games left and we are going to give it our all. We won't surround our title lightly. There's lots of football still to play. We are not giving anything up." At the bottom end of the table, Queen's Park came from 2 goals down to beat Dundee United 3-2. Aberdeen beat Partick Thistle 2-1, while Spartans beat Montrose 3-2. Report by Alison McConnell. Evening Times Sport, March 31. Sinisalo on text from Schmeichel before Celtic League debut. Report by Josh McCafferty. Standing Celtic goalkeeper Viljami Sinisalo is grateful for the support of number one stopper Kasper Schmeichel. The veteran picked up a shoulder injury while on international duty with Denmark, the extent of which remains to be seen. Sinisalo resultantly came into the Celtic lineup against Hearts on Saturday and performed well, picking up a clean sheet at his side triumph 3-0. The Finn has played second fiddle to Schmeichel throughout the campaign so far, but has the full backing of his colleague. Said that Sinisalo, "We swapped a couple of messages. He's been really supportive. He's someone I've always looked up to since I was really young. Obviously, we wish all the best for him and a speedy recovery. But yes, he's been great since day one when we both came in, and we've been really close. Like I said, he's someone I've always looked up to a lot, and he's been great with me." Sinisalo joined Celtic from Aston Villa last summer in a £1 million move. Before the weekend, he had registered just one appearance for Brendan Rodgers' side, and he said, "It was great to play. I was looking forward to it a lot before the game. When you get an opportunity to play for this football club, you've got to take it with both hands, and hopefully I can do that. You've got to have that confidence. I've always been a confident man. One coach back in the day always said to me, 'Have confidence to the point of arrogance. Never go above that. You can't be arrogant, but you've got to be confident. Your goalkeeper needs to look confident and look like it belongs to the place where he is.' So yes, obviously, I'll back myself. And however many games that is, I've got to back myself, which I will. You've got to do that. As a goalkeeper, you've got to be ready for your moment. That's why I've worked hard every day since I started my professional career, and every day since I signed for this football club in the summer. Every footballer wants to play, and when you get that moment, that chance, you've got to take it and keep ticking the games away and playing well. So yes, it's a mental game, especially for a club like this. It's mental. You've got to be switched on at every single moment in the game, because things can happen so quickly. Celtic can take yet another step towards a fourth consecutive Scottish Premiership title when they travel to face St Johnstone at McDermott Park this Sunday. Set to be backed by 3 stands of raucous travelling supporters, Sinisalo says he and his teammates must not get too far ahead of themselves, and he added, "Listen, one game at a time. It's about getting 3 points here and we move over our focus to the weekend. That's St Johnstone, so we'll try and tick them off one game by game and make sure we get the 3 points at St Johnstone on Sunday." Report by Josh McCafferty. Evening Times Sport, March 31. Susan Egglestaff says, "Athletics must be admired in taking stands to protect female sport. A cheek swab is, in most cases, entirely uncontroversial. Quick, easy and non-invasive, it's typically the blandest of bland medical procedures. Except in sport, that is. The news that World Athletics will introduce mandatory cheek swabs for all those wishing to compete in the female category has caused quite an uproar. Some might say a disproportionate uproar. The reason for this move by track and field's governing body is clear. It wants to protect fairness in the female category. Protecting the female category, or not, has become a hot, potentially the hottest topic in sport in recent years. As has been established, inclusion and fairness cannot coexist when it comes to the female category in sport, and specifically when talking about trans women or DSD women in sport. The issue with trans women competing in the female category is self-explanatory, with the question being, should individuals who were born male but transition to become women be permitted to compete as women? Research suggests if individuals who have been born male retain some residual benefits of going through male puberty and so have an unfair advantage over their female competitors, increasingly sporting bodies believe trans women should not be allowed to compete as women, but there is certainly not a consensus. And then there's DSD athletes, who are individuals who do not develop along typically male-female lines, and instead their hormones, genes, and reproductive organs have a mix of male and female characteristics. This means female DSD athletes have, many believe, an advantage over their other female competitors. What has caused so much consternation within sport in the past decade, during which this issue has become higher profile than ever, is that so few of those who make the rules in sport have been willing to take a hard and fast stance on it. In many cases, governing bodies and officials have obfuscated and danced around the issue as much as they can in order to delay or defer making a tough decision. There's talk about fairness and inclusion both being vitally important within sport, which clearly is true. But when it comes to a point that both cannot be protected and one needs to be chosen above the other, so many sports have been unwilling to stick their head above the parapet. This is where athletics has been an impressive outlier. Athletics has stood alone in world sport by making clear that the protection of the female category is the priority above all else. Certainly, track and field has been forced to deal with this issue more publicly than most other sports. In Caster Semenya, the South African former 800 metres Olympic champion, the sport has an athlete who was forced to publicly endure a truly horrendous process while it was decided whether she was eligible to compete in the female category or not. Semenya is, it has been widely reported, DSD, and given she dominated the 800 metres for a period, it is unsurprising that her case became so high profile. Ultimately, it was ruled by World Athletics that Semenya and other DSD athletes could only compete if they took testosterone-suppressing medication. Semenya's case, plus the increasing prevalence of trans women succeeding in women's sport, made it clear to those at the top of athletics at least that set-in-the-stone rules were required. It's hard to argue with this thinking. The worst of all worlds is what's happened too many times previously, that athletes compete in the female category, but are then vilified publicly by those who believe they should not be competing as females, which is why the cheek swab idea by World Athletics is the best move forward. Some of the testing Semenya was reportedly subjected to was invasive, degrading and humiliating. No one would ever condone or support this being the procedure going forward. So cheek swabs, which take all of a few seconds to complete and consistently give a reliable result in testing DNA, are an excellent introduction. The timeline for the implementing the cheek swab procedure has yet to be confirmed, but it is hoped it will be in place by this autumn's World Championships. Athletes will only have to take the test once in their career, and it ensures there should no longer be any grey area when it comes to who is eligible to compete as a female and who is not. World Athletics President Seb Coe said, "We're not just talking about the integrity of female women's sport, but actually guaranteeing it. And with this, we feel it is a really important way of providing confidence and maintaining the absolute focus on the integrity of competition." I find it hard to find fault with this reasoning, yet there has still been considerable kickback to the cheek swab policy. There are those who claim it is discriminatory, and others who claim it is racist, given it's women of colour who are more likely to be born DSD. A policy which deals with the contentious issue of who is female is never going to appease everyone, but despite this, a policy has to be made. Everyone witnessed the madness that engulfed the Olympic boxing tournament last summer, when Algerian fighter Emaine Khalif won gold despite reports claimed she'd previously failed a gender test. Such a circus can never be allowed to happen again, and World Athletics is surely mindful of the potential for to if they do not eliminate the grey area that currently exists. Cheek swabs do this. They make a very contentious subject as uncomplicated as possible. Yes, there will be those who claim inclusion is being sacrificed, but World Athletics has decided where its priorities lie. There will, I'm sure, be more than a few sports that follow suit in the coming years, says Susan Egglestaff.
That concludes this week's edition of the Glasgow Times Sports Podcast. Please remember to subscribe to our channels at Q and Review, and to tell your friends about our service